Welcome, welcome. We will get started shortly. So in the meantime, go ahead and take a nice comfortable seat and begin to settle in. All right, let's center and ground. So close your eyes, taking a big deep breath in, sigh it out nice and slow. Another big full breath in and release. Allow yourself to arrive in your body. Taking a few deep cleansing breaths. And as you breathe deeply, feel your lungs expand, filling up slowly, and exhale nice and slow. Inhaling deeply, allowing your lungs to expand, feel your body expand. And on your exhale, notice that internal contraction as you empty all the way out. Inhale to fill up. And exhale to contract, allowing your shoulders to drop down your back as you feel yourself lengthen through the top of your head. Do a scan of your body and notice anywhere you're holding, clenching, or tightening, and see if you can let go. Whatever you can't let go, just release and be. Filling up your lungs and release. Now tune into your senses, noticing the temperature and texture of air on your skin. Becoming aware of any taste in your mouth. Noticing the smells that are coming to you. Becoming aware of what you see in your mind's eye. Lights, colors, shapes. Noticing the sounds around you, the sounds inside of the space you're in, and the sounds outside of the space you're in. Acknowledge it all and let it be. I'm taking a moment to set your intention for our time together today. Holding that intention in your mind's eye. And when you're ready, let it go. And then opening your eyes and coming back to this place from wherever it is that you just went. Grab your journal, grab your notebook, and take a moment to reflect on this past week. How did your morning pages go? What went well? What came up for you in those pages? How did your artist date go? What went well? What came up for you on the artist date? So I'm going to set the alarm for 3 minutes for you to jot down what you were experiencing or over this last week. All right, wrapping up where you are. And I would love to hear a check-in on how morning pages went. Now, again, I'm not looking for whether or not you did them. I'm looking for if you did them, what came up for you? What was that like? And if you didn't do them, why were you resisting? What was that resistance to doing them? And what did you do for your artist date if you did one? And maybe if you didn't do one, why was there resistance around that? So, Dwinelva, can I start with you?
Sure. Um, I think for me, the morning pages, it's helping me feel a little more calm and grounded. And a couple of days, I have actually, in addition to the morning pages, added like a 20-minute, right after that, just a 20-minute meditation where I'm just kind of sitting and being still and really doing a meditation. So it's really, that has helped a lot because I've got quite a bit of stress. So it's really kind of helped with the stress.
Mm,
And then I actually, the last time I did this, I the artist dates were harder, but even yesterday I did an impromptu artist date where I went and listened to some live music on the square downtown before I had dinner with a friend. And that was just so much fun. And I was by myself and just taking in the music, taking in the scenery, seeing things I have never seen before, and I've been down there 1,000 times. So
mm.
that was really fun. That was really fun.
I love that. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that. T.
Pages are going really well. And I'm so in a rhythm with those. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I didn't have them. I plain old forgot to do my artist date. I had picked out a thing to do and everything. Stoney had told me about this. He got this shirt at this new store and he was like, you should go and check it out. And they have things I think you would like. And I was going to go there and then just like wander around that area. And I just plain old forgot.
Mm. It happens. It totally happens. Thank you for sharing that, Sarah.
I love getting back to the morning pages because it's helping me just process things out. I know we talk about this a lot, but it just clears out all the things I'm sort of ruminating about or stressing out about a little bit. Um, and I haven't been able to do like a big chunk of an artist date, but I have been making time to sit on my porch swing when I can alone and really enjoy what's going on in nature too.
Love that. Thank you. Dee Dee.
So the morning pages, I'm not a journaler. I mentioned that last week. So this has been a kind of a new discipline for me. And I reported last week that I was loving it, that I wrote furiously. And this week, not so much. It was um, didn't flow. And then I realized that I was approaching it like I do many things. I was overthinking it. It was like, what should I put down on this page? And it's like, nope, that's not the purpose. So the first few days were a little challenging. The last couple have been a little better. Yeah, so that was good. Artist date. So it's Easter week, and I went for the first time in many, many years. I went to a Maundy Thursday service last night, and it was quite interesting. This particular church, it's a United Methodist Church here in Greensboro, and I attend. I watch it. I stream it a lot, and I attend some. And it was there was the pastor did a monologue of the apostle John, and so it was just really fascinating to just really kind of absorb in John's perspective of Jesus and Jesus's life. So it was really lovely, and it was the we ended the service in silence and left in silence, which is very different for that kind of a service. So that's what I did, and I enjoyed that very much.
Remind me, the Monday, Thursday, is that service, is that the washing of the feet? Am I
Yeah.
imagining? Yeah.
The Last Supper and the washing of
Yeah.
the feet. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Vishali.
Well, I'm new to the morning pages, so consistency is what I was aiming for. So even if I had to put down one line as soon as I woke up, I was able to do morning pages like waking up as soon as I wake up for a few days this week. Not, not consistently like in the morning itself. Um, yeah, I realized that there's a lot of negative emotion that I've been holding on to for a long time. Um, yeah, so we'll continue with this to see what other things I discover, I guess, about myself.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I think that that is a powerful thing in morning pages is seeing like what are we holding and like I know that we can feel the need to like stay positive sometimes, but like I think the acknowledging what we're feeling and what we're holding and getting our bodies out of our heads and onto the page is so powerful. And so I hope that's the experience that you're having or moving into with that. But like I think the acknowledging it, until we acknowledge it, we can't do anything with it, So
Or we don't even give it a thought. I guess it just keeps running in the background of your mind, but I think putting it down on paper kind of brings it like up front, like in your face, I guess.
yeah, like maybe our operating system needs it. Like when you said
Yeah.
running in the background, I just thought about a computer and like, wow, if that's our operating system and we don't even realize it's like, oh, our operating system needs an upgrade, like it's time for,
We are a human computer, so anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, artist date. I mean, mine was similar to Sarah's. I was like, I had a couple of things to do, like planned, but I couldn't get to it. And then I think one afternoon, at lunch break, I went down and sat down in Libor Park and did some people watching. And I think it was fun. I had not done that for a while. I used to enjoy that before, actually. So, yeah.
I love that. And remind me, are you in Greensboro too?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you were at the
Yeah, I work like right in the building right next to the Libor Park. So,
that's awesome. Thank you. Chandani, how about you?
Sorry. My morning pages went better than last week. I felt this week. It was still like almost like Vaishali. They were filled with everything sucks. But I think that is also maybe my PMDD post-ovulation between periods. Those 2 weeks, I mean, generally everything sucks for me. So it could just be that, or it could just be because I'm writing after a long period of time. I'm able to write down my thoughts and break them down and just see through what I'm feeling. But it's been going good. I've not been doing 3 pages, but it's 2 pages. I have a big journal, so I feel 2 pages are equivalent to 3 pages. I turned 37 last Saturday. So I did, because that was a Saturday, so I couldn't, I was spending time with Gia and Monik. So I took a day off on Wednesday and I made it like my birthday day, pseudo birthday. So I went for a massage and then I went to Ronaldo Park, sat there for 3 hours. So it was a nice long date. It was good.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So if you're off camera, I'm not going to call on you, but I do see some folks throwing things into the chat box. So I'm just going to, Kristen said that she's been processing and bumping into resistance. Yeah, I'm sure being sick is a part of that, Kristen. And let's see, you pulled out the sewing machine and scrap material and made a homemade watercolor journal. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Monica, lots of past critiques in morning page, or lots of resistance to past critiques in morning pages. I will be interested to hear more about that if you're able to share. I don't know if you're able to share right now, but hearing exactly what you mean by that. So are you critiquing yourself? Are you just sharing what a fashion school crushed your spirit? Oh, yeah. I hope you'll be able to push through that because you're such a creative and amazing human. And I'm glad that you're finally acknowledging that. That's wonderful. It's wonderful that you're acknowledging it so that we can do something with it. So thank you for sharing that. A 4-hour hike. Awesome. Awesome. I took a pretty long hike this weekend too. It's so good. Okay, so I would love to I would love for you to take a moment and I never know where and when people end up reading the chapter. So I don't know if you're like me and you do the homework right before it's like the class starts, because that's how I am. I'm just like a last minute kind of person. Or if you did it on Monday. So I want you to refresh yourself. Grab the book and take a look at chapter 2. Just flip through chapter 2. What did you highlight? What stuck out to you? What did you underline? What really spoke to you about recovering this chapter of recovering a sense of identity? Like, what was it about this chapter that you have top of mind for yourself right now? Just make some notes. I'm just going to give us a moment or two, and then we'll talk about it. I know it can be kind of hard to reflect as I'm speaking, but I did want to say something after Chandani mentioned that you do 2 pages. That's fine. First of all, that's fine. But second of all, I think something that I remember doing when I first started morning pages is my journals were really small. So like now my journals are very big, but I'm more okay with the process of it being if it's a page or if it's 2 pages or whatever it is, I'm like, okay with that. And because I have the self-trust that I'll come back to it, that I do it regularly, that this is a habit I've cultivated. But when I first started my journals, sometimes I would do a small journal, small pages, because I was like, yep, 3 pages, got it done. And it made me feel a little bit more confident that I could do it, that I could do 3 pages. And then I built up to a bigger journal. Julia Cameron, suggest something big from the get-go, and I just think that's almost a little too overwhelming. So if you are struggling to get a full 3 pages in and it's messing with your mind and you want to be able to say I did 3 pages, get a smaller journal. It's not cheating. It's not cheating. It's just it will help you build that confidence to say like I'm doing it. Okay, so hopefully you've had a minute hopefully that wasn't too distracting, and you've had a minute to look back over week 2. And I would love to see, all right, what stood out for you? Who had something stand out this week that they would like to share?
I'm happy to start.
Okay.
I first of all, part of the chapter was a little, I guess I'm grateful that I don't have crazy makers anymore in my life. I did it certainly at one time, but so I kind of breezed through that. I'm like, okay, but it was good to kind of understand outside folks can sabotage your efforts. So I understood that piece. But I loved just sort of, I think at the end of the day, after I finished, what popped up for me is the notion of what she talks about something being a coincidence, or at the bottom of 50 where it talks about noting that the creative recovery, sometimes we don't take seriously the possibility that the universe might be cooperating with our new and expanded plans. I love that because I think I often will doubt when something pops up. I'm like, I can see how that self-doubt pops up because I can't see how it would work, and so that's how I think I get into my self-doubt. I can't see how to make it work when that's not the point, right? I'm not supposed to see how to make it work. I'm just supposed to pay attention to what pops up. And so for me this week, what has popped up for me is that this notion of playing, I don't know how to play. And so that
Mm.
has popped up like, I need to learn how to play and not be so serious because I'm just too serious. So anyway, that's what I got out of this week. I need to learn how to play.
Joanella, I wish you were close. I'd say, come on over, we'll pull out the Play-Doh and we'll start there. I had a client this year who literally went and bought like a whole set of Play-Doh, like children's Play-Doh, just to get back into that mindset of play. And that's what she would do for her artist dates for the first few, whatever. She wanted to like it to be a very tactile experience. And I think that's so great. Or even making, do you remember what it felt like to make Play-Doh? Do you remember that feeling? And if you were a kid that was a little weird like me, you might have even put the very salty Play-Doh in your mouth and like had that experience. So those things are just really fun. Yeah. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, T.
On the first thing that she on page 56 in my book, it says affirmative reading, where you read the basic principles to yourself, and it says be alert for any attitudinal shifts. Can you see yourself setting aside any skepticism yet? And I wrote a little thing and I wrote April 2025. Yes, because I mean, I've had this book forever. I've read it so many times. I've gone through it and it was like, oh my God, finally. It's like it sometimes these shifts take time. And the other thing that made me laugh was that I did list the 20 things I enjoy doing and then just went on with my life. Like, didn't think about like, hey T, do you want to do any of those? Do you want to add any of those? It was just like, I did it like it was a homework assignment in school. Like, oh, I'm supposed to turn this in and get some credit. It's like, well, girl, go do those.
That's great. Thank you. Dee Dee, did I see you trying to pop in there? Okay.
Yes, I'm like ditto to both of the last two. I have always struggled with play and want to just check it off as another task, right? Oh, okay, I played. I bought a coloring book. I love to color and hadn't for years. My daughter's well grown and I only have one grandkiddo and she's mostly grown, and so I haven't done that kind of thing. So I did a few years ago, and so now I am going to go pull it out because I know exactly where it is, but I haven't pulled it out for a while. So I'm going to do that. I think for me, it's about a lot about just what I got this week was just enjoying the moment and looking at the beauty of each moment and making that a part of how you're caring for yourself and how you're also communing with God for me and my belief system. And I need to continue to remember that. I loved a lot of the quotes about slowing down and enjoying life and don't missing out on things and learn to get in touch with the silence within yourself. I love those kinds of things, and I'm really trying to slow down just overall and think about what I'm doing and not always make it that's where I'm trying to go or what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm trying to do that in all aspects of my life.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Who else had something speak to them in this week's pages? Sarah.
This comes up for me a lot, and I feel like our different groups, but on the bottom of 43, she talked about focusing not on our responsibilities to ourselves, but on our responsibilities to others. And that we tend to think that this kind of behavior makes us good people, but it makes us frustrated people. And I feel like that's a running theme in my life.
That's in conflict for you because I think because one of the things that you love and find a lot of fulfillment out of is helping others. So it feels like a conflict between carving time for yourself and
or not doing it at the expense of myself, right? Like when I have the energy and I have the time, I think those things are great, right? And that's a part of what I value and who I am. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. It's when it's like ratcheted up too high, right? Like I'm doing it even when I'm sick or am busy. I will drop my things to take care of a friend's things. Or like, I mean, this is so stupid and like a minor example, but I watched a friend's dog over spring break, and basically like I had to figure out care for the dog a couple of days that I was gone. It was a very weird situation, but they had asked me to, so I was like, yeah, of course, sure, even though it was like not, I didn't really have time or space to be doing that.
Mm,
So
yeah.
things like that where it's like a good intention, but I take it too far or at the expense of myself.
So when you saw that, what did you do with that when that came up for you? Have you done anything with that yet, or are you sitting with it?
Sitting with it, trying to be mindful as like future things come up, you know, so like when I'm considering doing something, like really thinking like, do I really have the space or time for this? Like another silly example, but true. I'm currently debating whether or not I should make these really special cookies for a friend, even though I'm hosting Easter this weekend, and like thinking of all the things that I need to do to prepare for Easter. But I'm still like, well, I think I could make those cookies for them today.
Sarah. Okay. Thank you for sharing all of that. I know so many of us can relate to that feeling, and yeah, but get the you time in, take care of you first. Yeah. All right, what else? Yes, Dee Dee.
I'm gonna jump in real quickly. Something, Sarah, that I learned about in the last couple months, and I'm trying to implement is I'm very much, I think, very much like you in that way. It's like, oh yeah, no problem, no problem. I'm starting to look at when I commit to something or agree to something or add something to my list is not just the time that it'll take, but the energy I have to expend to make that happen. I belonged to a local women's group for a while, and it was 3 hours a month. I made some good connections, not a big time commitment, but it was a lot of energy. It wasn't the greatest experience. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to rejoin because it's not bringing me a lot of satisfaction. It really didn't take that much time because there was no work outside of it, right? It was just those meetings, but I knew that it took a lot of energy. And it's been very interesting. I haven't been a member now for 2 months, and I took it off my calendar, and it's just amazing how that makes me feel just to not have that extra thing. And it really was more of an energy thing. So just wanted to throw that in there.
That's super interesting and like a great reminder. Thank you. Chandani, how about you? I saw that hand go up.
Yeah, I was just saying for this chapter, I know crazy makers are not, not exact. I feel like sometimes I am the crazy maker in my own life. So I'm wanting my own reality. I am wasting, like I am saying that, oh, even if I have this important project, oh, it's okay. I'll do it later. I'll do the other thing first. So I mean, others can be, but I feel it goes back to everything is you pushed out kind of thing, that if I am not doing this thing for myself, then how do I expect others to respect my time if I'm not respecting my time?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I can very much relate to that one. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Did anybody else have that feeling of like, oh, I'm the crazy maker? Yeah. That's totally totally comes up. I love in the the very beginning of this chapter where she says it's important to remember that first flush going sane feels just like going crazy. And that always stands out to me as like, yeah, all of these things that we have doing and putting on our plates that keep us blocked. Sometimes it can feel very crazy to start saying yes to ourselves and yes to something like play, or yes to keeping the artist date when we've got a bazillion other things on our calendar that we want to be doing. Like that can feel very crazy because that's not what our society, that's not what the expectation is. The expectation is not like we carve out time for ourselves. The expectation is not that we value creativity and put that first. So that can feel nutty because that's not what's happening in our society. So just keep that kind of in your head. Just keep that there. And then along those lines, you know, where she says that do not expect your blocked friends to applaud your recovery. Like that's like expecting your best friend from the bar to celebrate your sobriety. How can they when their own drinking is something they want to hold on to? So just that reminder that, you know, this doesn't happen so much anymore because I don't know that I allow for people that say things like this to be in my life anymore. But it, you know, like, oh, it must be nice for you to be able to carve out, like, take that time to do that thing. You know, we've all heard something along those. It must be nice that you have the time to do that. And it's like, no, I've prioritized the time to do that thing. That is what is valuable to me. So just remembering that people who are blocked in these areas might not be understanding what you're doing. So being very holding maybe close to the vest that you're spending time writing morning pages every day, or that you're carving out a date with yourself for yourself to do something for you. Like that can be affronting to people. You know, one of my favorite things used to be to take myself to dinner alone, to a very nice dinner alone. This used to be like a favorite thing. I haven't done it in years, but I used to love to like go to a fancier, what felt like a fancier restaurant to me, and just sit at the bar and have a very long dinner. Maybe read a book, maybe people watch, maybe shoot the shit with the bartender. It felt so luxurious and so great. And like people don't like that is not something that other people understand, that a lot of people understand. I think a lot of you probably understand it, but you know, like just even saying something like that, people are like, I could never, how do you do that? Or, you know, like, and it's just a really interest stuff like that. That's that tension. That's that bumping up against something that society thinks is different. So all that's to say, like she says on page 43, be very careful to safeguard your newly recovering artist. So we have to really think about how we are nurturing ourselves in this experience. And I like the reminder too that through self-nurturance, we nurture our inner connection to the great creator. It's like carving out that time for quiet is the way that we commune with the great creator, right? It's really hard to have that channel open if there's a lot of noise happening in our lives. And so making sure that we have, you know, to me, the morning pages are just like, it is that I'm opening that channel. I'm making it possible for that prayer to come through, or that piece of faith to come through, you know, or, you know, universe, whatever you want to call it. If it's not that, like, if the great creator or God piece doesn't come through for you, if that doesn't resonate, find what does resonate. Is it spirit? Is it inner intuition that you're connecting to? Like, what is that quiet that we're safeguarding? It's really important. It's establishing that connection, that inner knowing. Okay. Let's see. You may be, so some of you were finding that this week morning pages were a little harder, and some of you might be finding that it's a little bit easier. And she just says on page 44, you will learn that it's actually easier to write than not write, paint than not paint, and so forth. You will learn to enjoy the process of being a creative channel and to surrender your need to control the result, right? So I think that as we start to develop this habit, you can find that you might get a little grouchy if you do your morning pages, or if you haven't like given yourself that time to pause and to reflect. And I think that's a really important thing to keep at the top of your mind. Okay, there's a few more things in this chapter that I think are pretty important. Okay, so on page 50, she says, the reason we think it's weird to imagine an unseen helping hand is that we still doubt that it's okay for us to be creative. With this attitude firmly entrenched, we not only look all gift horses in the mouth, but also swat them on the rump to get them out of our lives as fast as possible. Has anybody ever turned something down that was really wonderful? Yeah. Do you want to say something about that, T?
Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, wanted to be, we were on a call. She was on the board of directors for the organization I worked for. And she said, I want to be your friend. I want to be your mentor. And I was like, oh, no, oh gosh, I couldn't have her. I want to be your friend. I want to be your mentor. What was I thinking?
How old were you, T?
I was in my 30s. I mean, now granted,
That's
my husband had just died
Yeah.
under very traumatic circumstances. I was not in a well frame of mind. I
right.
mean, I had just experienced some pretty extraordinary levels of trauma, but still,
I know, but also we're still young in our 30s. I just want to just point this out too, because I've heard you
ah,
share this before. And it's like, okay, so that like the grace of like, yeah, I didn't have capacity to know how to say yes to that yet, right? Like you have capacity now to say yes to opportunities like that. And it's like, I think what's so beautiful about that story and that I know you around this is that like that would not be what you said now. And maybe it's
yeah,
because of that experience, you know, that you wouldn't say that now. Or
yeah,
like, and when I say that, I mean, like you would say yes to, you would be open to that. You would cultivate that now if it came up, right? I mean, do you
yeah.
think?
Oh, totally. And she and I would have these. I remember having an amazing conversation with her where we just enjoyed each other so much, and she was like reading me. I mean, she's an amazing Jungian psychoanalyst, on top of everything else, and it's just, I just that will never cease to amaze me that she said that, and that I was just like, oh golly.
Could you reach back out to her? Have you thought
I
about
did reach back out to her later, and I think the moment was just, it was not there
that?
in the same way,
Yeah, get that. Well, thank you for sharing. Has anyone else had an experience like this? Said no to a big gift or something beautiful. It happens. I've definitely done it. I've tried to do it. I have a really good friend who wanted me to go to Europe with her. She's a travel agent. I've said this before, and I initially told her no. And I ended up doing that because she wouldn't let me take no for an answer. But you know, sometimes we only allow ourselves. What I think about this is what I think about how I only believed I was allowed to have a certain amount of happiness, or I only believed I was allowed to have a certain amount of something, and that wasn't in what I believed was possible for myself at that time. And it's like that's what she's touching on with this, and just keep that in mind. And then I think it was Dwinelva, I think you pointed out on the bottom of this page that she says, one of the things most worth noticing in creative recovery is our reluctance to take seriously the possibility that the universe just might be cooperating with our new and expanded plans. We've gotten brave enough to try recovery, but we don't want the universe to really pay attention. We still feel too much like frauds to handle some success. When it comes, we want to go. So, I think that when that happens, we can tend to begin to start self-sabotaging when we start to see some success. And so it's just important to be cognizant of where that might come up for us. All right, let's see. There's a few other things in this chapter that I think are important. Is this spurring anything for anyone as I'm pointing this stuff out? Yeah. Okay, I think this one is interesting too. On page 52, one of the greatest misconceptions about the artistic life is that it entails great swaths of aimlessness. The truth is that a creative life involves great swaths of attention. Attention is a way to connect and survive. Attention is a way to connect and survive. And then on page 53, she says, survival lies in sanity, and sanity lies in paying attention, right? The capacity for delight is the gift of paying attention, right? And then she goes on to say, so at the bottom of page 53, she says, the reward for attention is always healing. It may begin as the healing of a particular pain, the lost lover, the sickly child, the shattered dream. But what is healed, finally, is the pain that underlies all pain, the pain that we are all, as Rilke phrases it, unutterably alone. More than anything else, attention is an act of connection. I learned this the way I have learned most things, quite by accident. So, those are just it's just very poignant. Like this is, so it first starts in the morning pages. We're paying attention to our thoughts as we put the morning pages, our thoughts on paper in morning pages. That's attention to self first. And then allowing yourself to get lost in the joy or the fun or the whatever of the artist state. That's about paying attention. It's about if you're alone, if you're not worrying about the energy or the thoughts of someone else and you're in that experience of the artist state, it's the experience of being able to be attentive to the experience. So Dwanelva, you shared that when you went to see the music, you saw things that you had never seen, right? Like that's attention at its finest. Like you've been there thousands of times and all of a sudden there's this stuff you've never seen before. And it's because you gave yourself the gift of attention, right? That's so beautiful. So I do want to also point this out on page 54. She's sharing about how she came to this attention, the gift of attention. And she says, in times of pain, when the future is too terrifying to contemplate and the past too painful to remember, I have learned to pay attention to right now. The precise moment I was in was always the only safe place for me. Each moment taken alone was always bearable. In the exact now, we are all always all right. Yesterday, the marriage may have ended. Tomorrow, the cat may die. The phone call from the lover for all my waiting may not ever come, but just at the moment, just now, that's all right. I am breathing in and out. Realizing this, I began to notice that each moment was not without its beauty, right? Just such a poignant thing of like, yeah, most of the time in the right now, we are fine. Like right this second, we are fine. We are good. We are whole. And it's the worrying about the future or stressing about the past that can't be changed that causes that suffering piece of things. So she talks about the rules of the road and then the tasks. Did anyone have anything, come up with the tasks from this week? Yeah, T.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like for the rules of the road, I feel like we need to add 11, put your phone down. Like for this new age, we just need to add that one. that wasn't an issue so much when, we
Mhm.
just need to add that.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Okay, so I want you to take a moment to grab your journal and I want you to just reflect on anything that has come up for you in this, in hearing from each other, from thinking about what we've read over the past week. Did you hear anything that I just said in a different way? And write out your takeaways. So just take a few minutes to reflect on that. And I'm going to pour a little water in my plant because it's looking very sad. Good gracious. I forget it's back there until all of a sudden I look up and I'm like in the Zoom and I'm like, oh my God, my plant's dying. Sorry, guys. But I water it about as much as I water myself. So, I mean, okay, so Chandani just dropped her takeaway into the chat box. She said, take away the self-doubt we have and working our way out of that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. T, how about you? What are your takeaways from?
To schedule my artist date in the calendar, so I remember to do it. And I'm really glad that I'm good at saying no to people and things.
Awesome, thank you. And Monica just dropped in the chat box. She said, my takeaway, nurturing my artist means letting go of past criticism from others and embracing play. Yes, and I can't wait to hear what play dates you give yourself. Dwinelva, how about you?
I think my takeaway is realizing that I can be my own crazy maker. So to guard against that, I hadn't thought about that from that context. And then probably to go find some Play-Doh.
Yeah, yes, or make it, right? Or make it. Sarah, how about you?
Just to continue to prioritize taking care of myself, like putting my things at the top of the list. And then if I get to the other things, because I have time and energy, great. And if not, that's okay too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Kristen said from the reading, to give myself the gift of faith and trust I am on the right track. Yes, yes, you are on the right track. So for homework, what you're going to be working on is you are going to be continuing your morning pages. Do your artist date. You can share your artist date and what you've been up to or what you're thinking about doing in the community. I would love to hear from you all in the community piece of things. It's just such a powerful place to share and to offer each other things. It's a great way to support each other in this process. So don't be afraid to get in Telegram and share there. And we are moving into chapter 3, and chapter 3 is about recovering a sense of power. So she says that this week may find you dealing with unaccustomed bursts of energy and sharp peaks of anger, joy, and grief. You are coming into your power as the illusory hold of your Previously accepted limits will be shaken. You will be asked to consciously experiment with spiritual open-mindedness. So this is kind of a big chapter, and anger is such a common thing. So she'll be touching on anger, synchronicity, and shame. Well, I think there's something else in here that's big. Hang on a second. And dealing with criticism. So this is a huge chapter, and I highly recommend taking this chapter in chunks if you can. So maybe read like the first section on anger, and then read the next section on synchronicity, but maybe you take them a day at a time, because each of these chunks is like pretty big stuff, I feel like, to wrap your head around. And then give yourself some time to do those tasks at the end as well. But it's okay to not read this whole chapter all in one big chunk. You can take it in little chunks at a time, which I recommend doing, because this one's a lot. And that might be reflected in your morning pages. You might see that coming up as well. Okay, any questions about this next week ahead? Okay. Don't be afraid to join us in yoga if you have a chance. Yoga, again, just a reminder that is 6:30 to 7 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You should have the link for that. I know, sorry, you just yawned, T. That's so funny. I know, yeah, you don't have to join us for yoga. And I'll have some recordings for the Watercolor Club membership releasing this weekend for the April session. So if you're looking for a fun artist date, there's a whole archive that you all have access to in Kajabi of past recordings, but some new ones are coming. So don't be afraid to go play and have fun in there if watercolor is your jam. Okay, I will see you all next week. Thank you so much for being here. You're doing great. All right, see you soon.